Thank you for all attending the Thursday, November 23rd meeting of the Niagara Regional Police Service Board. We're in Welland Council chambers right now. Declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest. I see none. Minutes of the previous meeting, item number 220. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Member Barrick, Member Stewart. Any comments or questions on that? I see none. All those in favor? Carried. Reports from the board chairperson. Firstly, I'd like to thank Welland Mayor Frank Campion and his council and staff for hosting the board's November meeting here in your city's council chambers. I'd like to recognize Mayor Campion and thank him for taking his time to join us at today's meeting. Frank, Mayor, please come to the podium and say something if you don't mind. Thank you. Have you ever been to the podium before?
I was just going to say, Chair, that this is quite different for me. I'm used to sitting, you're in my spot, and you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you, and this is a great chair.
I wish I could get my council meetings to operate as smoothly and quickly at the beginning as you have. So thanks very much. It's a pleasure to have you here. We really, from a municipal standpoint, appreciate the effort that you make to get out into the community and to, kind of take your meetings into the communities that you serve. So I understand we're the first one on your list. And this is obviously for us the first time in Welland to have you here. So, I think it really is meaningful to the residents to know that, you're not sort of all locked up in some tower somewhere and, not out in the public. So I really do appreciate the fact that you've made the effort, because it's not simple to just pick up and move everything around. And so we're pleased to have you here and hope that all of our electronic equipment works properly for you. So I do appreciate you coming, all of you.
Well, we're not the first, this is not the first time we've been away on our list, but it's the first time ever the Police Service Board's had a meeting in Welland, and
yep.
we started this 2 years ago, Deb. I've got it in my speaking notes, but
yeah.
We want to make an effort to come to these communities, and then if the citizens have a comment, they can come here and talk. They can always come to our Police Service Board meeting at headquarters in Niagara Falls, but we're here now. There's going to be a presentation on Welland. It's on the video that's going to be posted later on. I also have to remind everyone that even though the meeting is not being live streamed, it's being recorded and it'll be posted on the board's YouTube channel following the meeting. Yeah. But anybody can watch this, so if anybody has any questions or any of your citizens at any time, you know how to email me. They know how to email me as well. So
yeah, so I do appreciate that, and I would like to comment that we have a great working relationship with our division here. When we ask for something or we have an issue, they get right on it right away. So we really have a good working relationship between City Hall and the police department. And we're very appreciative of the quick response times. One thing we would like to see a bit more of would be more of a presence in the community. I think, the boards come to the community. It'd be great to have, officers maybe walking or at least interacting with our business people a little bit more. I think it's important to show a presence and be a part of our community. So that would be my only suggestion.
And that fits with Chief McCulloch's and Deputy Chief Forty and Deputy Chief Lynn's plans for down the way, more community involvement. So, just by you saying that really helps us and them to let them know, parking the cruisers or talking to the citizens, more of the business people and things like this. Yeah. Inspector Dowd will have a presentation, and if you have any questions after that, by all means, please speak
Fantastic.
up. So,
okay, thanks very much and welcome. And as I say, hopefully you have a great meeting here today. I'm going to have to leave in about 15 or 20 minutes, so I'll stay around as long as I can to hear our inspector.
I'll try and make my comments quick. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So in 2016, the board decided to change the location of its meetings in an effort to promote awareness of the role of the board and to stay in touch with the community concerns over policing issues, and held its first off-site meeting in Port Colborne. Building on the success of that meeting, the board wanted to continue to be proactive in engaging, educating, and hearing from the public by holding at least 2 off-site meetings each year. On May 25th, 2017, the board met at the town of West Lincoln, and our meeting here today in Welland will conclude the board's 2017 off-site meeting schedule. The off-site meetings will resume in 2018 with our April 29th meeting being held in Fort Erie and our September 27th meeting being held in the town of Niagara on the Lake. These off-site meetings were set in collaboration with Mayor Doug Joyner, Mayor Frank Campion, Mayor Wayne Redicop, Regional Councillor Sandy Annunziata, and Lord Mayor Pat Dart. as they recognize the value of having the board meeting at their council chambers so the citizens can participate or inquire into anything police related. I'm very pleased that every one of them, including yourself, Frank, Mayor, welcomed us open arms for being here and that. And I know it's an inconvenience to your staff and that, so thank you very much and thank your staff, please. By holding the meetings at locations other than police headquarters, it makes the board members more accessible and connected to different communities in our great region. I want to welcome any citizens in attendance today and advise that following the Chief's comments, Inspector Sean Dowd, who is the officer in charge of 3 District, will be providing a presentation to address local policing issues, enforcement efforts, and targeted initiatives that are specific to Welland. Following Inspector Dowd's presentation, the meeting will be open to community members for general comments or questions to any board or service members. Also, anyone wishing to make additional comments or submissions following today's meeting may do so by contacting the board by mail, email, or telephone. Now, at these meetings when we're off-site, we relax our rules a little bit, that if anybody walks in that door and wants to ask a respectful question, we will allow it. And that you know, usually it's 10 minutes, usually you have to let us know in advance, but we don't come to Welland that often or other cities. So if anyone shows up and wants to ask us a question, as long as it's respectful, we will have it answered. Next, Vaughn Stewart, reappointment to the board. On behalf of the board, I would like to acknowledge the reappointment of Vaughn Stewart to the board. He has been serving as a board member since December 2009 and has been reappointed by the province for a further 18-month term. Vaughn, the board looks forward to your continued contributions, the added value you bring as a veteran member of this board. Next, Regional Municipality of Niagara, the NRPS Joint Facilities Steering Committee meeting. In his role as Chair of Board's Accommodations Committee, Vice Chair Ganzel attended the Joint Regional Police Facilities Steering Committee meeting for discussions on police facility matters on November 1st. The next meeting is scheduled for November 28th. Do you wish any comment, Ken, or no? Okay, I'm just told the next meeting is not scheduled for November 28th. Do you have a date or no?
No.
Okay. Further notice. Okay, New Year, okay. Next, the NRPS Niagara Falls Community Engagement Night on November 1st. Member Stewart and I attended the service's first Niagara Falls Community Engagement Night at the Americana Conference Center in Niagara Falls. The event provided the public with an opportunity to address community concerns during a question and answer session, as well as discussions on crime prevention tips, community safety issues, crime trends in Niagara Falls area, and an introduction to the specialized units that are available to the community. I'm told by Chief McCullough that this was the first one of many to happen at different cities and that, and it was not well attended, but it was the first time. So we would hope that citizens will show up down the way to ask their questions and see what we do. Next, the NRPS Coffee with a Cop. On November 7th, Member Stewart joined Deputy Chief Flynn and NRPS command staff at the Diner House. Okay, pardon me if I'm saying it wrong, in St. Catharines in support of the service's Coffee with a Cop initiative. The service will be hosting a series of Coffee with a Cop events across the region to provide local residents with an opportunity to connect and share concerns with the NRPS command staff. That goes with what Mayor Campion mentioned earlier, that we're getting out more to the community to meet them with their concerns. So it's not for lack of trying that we're doing this. Licensing Committee of the Whole. On November 9th, the board's Licensing Committee of the Whole held a public consultation session upon completion of its one-year transportation network company review and for industry input on the proposed amendments to the licensing bylaw. The board will be accepting additional written submissions until November 30th, and any correspondence can be received at the board office either by email or regular mail. The materials presented will be considered by the board as a December 7th Licensing Committee meeting for determination of any final amendments. The OAPSB 2017 Labor Seminar. On November 16th and 17th, members Bonham and Stewart attended the Ontario Association of Police Services Board's Labor Seminar at the Holiday Inn Toronto Airport Hotel. The program provided an opportunity to learn from senior government officials about the new legislation, the Safer Ontario Act, that will see changes to the Police Services Act and profoundly impact policing and police governance in Ontario. Police budget presentation. Tonight at 6:30, Chief Brian McCullough and the NRPS Executive Command Team will be attending the region's the Budget Review Committee of the Whole meeting to present the Niagara Regional Police Service 2018 operating budget. The board approved the police budget at its October 26th meeting, and we are hopeful that once the police presentation is complete, the region will also support and approve the 2018 police budget request. The Kristen French Child Advocacy Center Niagara Holiday Appreciation Event. On December 1st, the Kristen French Child Advocacy Center Niagara will be holding its annual Holiday Appreciation Event being held in St. Catharines at the Center. The event is being held in honor of the organization's numerous donors, volunteers, board members, and partners. Member Stewart will be attending on behalf of the board. The Chief's Christmas breakfast on December 12th from 8 to 10 in the morning. The Niagara Regional Police Service will be hosting its annual Chief's Christmas breakfast in the community room at the police headquarters. The event will feature the St. Francis High School Choir with grilling services being provided by Enbridge Gas. The breakfast is open to the public and board members are encouraged to come out and participate. Tickets will be sold at the door for $10 each, with proceeds being donated to 4 local families in need through community care. The NRPS recruit swearing-in ceremony on December 19th at 7 p.m. The service will be hosting a swearing-in ceremony for 4 new recruits to the Niagara Regional Police Service. The ceremony is being held at NRPS headquarters in Niagara Falls, and members interested in attending are asked to confirm with board staff. The next PSB committee meetings are Thursday, December 7th at 8:30. The next police board meeting is Thursday, December 21st at 8:30 in the morning as well. Chief, if you don't mind, or Acting Chief 40, if you don't mind, I only have the mayor here for a few minutes. Can I hold your comments till after the presentation so that he can see the presentation? I'd like him to see the presentation by Inspector Dowd. Thank you very much.
Great idea. Thank you.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to have the presentation by Inspector Dowd now, and then we'll go back to the reports from the Acting Chief of Police and that, because I have a captive audience in the mayor for a short time here. Now you can't leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and welcome to all the members of the PSP, the Acting Chief, Senior Exec of the Niagara Regional Police, and everybody else who's here this morning for attending Welland. Thank you for the comments from Mayor Campion this morning. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. Very timely about the comment from the mayor about wanting to see members of the Niagara Regional Police Service out in public and interacting on foot patrols and that. This, as of recent, through the senior exec and through Superintendent White, we've started that actually across the region, and members of 3 District and Welland are actually out there on a regular basis interacting with the community, logging foot patrol and beat hours, and they're actually recorded, and our interaction and the hours we put are sent up through executive staff. So very timely comment, and I'm pleased to say that we actually are working on that, and it's quite working out quite well for both the officers, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback right now from the members of the community. So yes, it's just recent that we started doing it, but we intend on continuing down that road, so very timely. So obviously, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Inspector Sean Dowd from the Niagara Regional Police Service. I'm the commander of 3 District in Welland, and also for Pelham. I've held this position since May of 2016. 6 District and 8 District also fall under the command of Welland, of 3 District. That's being Port Colborne and Grimsby. And I report directly to Superintendent White, the Superintendent of District Operations. I also oversee the Niagara Regional Police Auxiliary Units and the Chaplains Unit. I sit on the board for the Occupational Health and Safety Unit, our Equipment Committee, and I'm also on the chair of the Welland, well, it's not particularly for Welland, but on the Safety Village, Niagara Safety Village, which is held in Welland, but it services the whole community of the Niagara region. Certainly an honor for me to sit on that, and that's part and parcel of my position in the Niagara Regional Police, so it's great that I'm able to interact in the community in that way. Welland and Pelham, also known as 3 District, is comprised of a contingent of frontline officers, detectives from our criminal investigations branch, administrative support staff, and our office itself in Welland is manned 24/7. There's a staff sergeant that's always in the building. So there's always full support to members of the community should they wish to attend the station. Our officers in 3 District respond to a wide variety of calls for service, from routine to high priority response. Officers are also involved in proactive initiatives to address concerns specific to the city of Welland and the town of Pelham, which are often, those issues are often identified by our local residents and our community partners, as well as through the mayor's office and anybody else that wants to approach us. On the subject of community partners, I'm very pleased to report that the Niagara Regional Police Service has an extremely positive relationship with both Mayor's office, the City of Welland staff, the Town of Pelham staff, St. Lawrence Seaway we deal with on a regular basis, as well as various other community partners throughout the Welland and Pelham area. Our calls for service involve complaints of criminal as well as non-criminal behavior. It can include responding to incidents such as domestic violence, mental health interventions, noise complaints, trespassing, providing assistance to various agencies such as our municipal bylaw offices here in Welland, our fire services, EMS. We work as a team out here. Our detectives assigned to the 3-district criminal investigations branch are responsible also for assisting a 6th district in Port Colborne as the need arises, and the 2 districts maintain a close working relationship. The 3-district criminal investigations branch also has the benefit of a crime analyst, and a crime analyst can monitor for trends, anomalies, and will also liaise with other outside agencies, so we have a good grasp of what's going on at all times, and we track it. And our crime analyst sits in with our detective office, and she's a great resource. And so obviously she's, it's Lil Prevost. She assists in actually helping solve crimes and, like I say, tracking and forecasting what's going on in our community, so we can try to head stuff off in a timely fashion. Also assigned to our criminal investigations branch is our street crime unit. Their mandate is to investigate property crimes, including break-and-enters, thefts of vehicles, and also includes drug investigations are a very large part of their routine daily duties. Although they're a relatively small unit, they're consistently extremely busy at all times of the year. There's no downtime. Just some quick stats for what they've done in the first 10 months of 2017. They've made 88 arrests, laid 278 criminal charges, seized over $363,000 in various illicit drugs, seized over almost $90,000 in currency, recovered almost $49,000 in property, and also seized 10 firearms out of the community. So that's just in 3 district alone. That's not region-wide. So obviously we're fairly busy, or we are very busy, I should say that. We also have the benefit of utilizing the services of specialty units within the Niagara Regional Police Services when required. They can include, but are not limited to, our school resource officer, who we actually have one assigned right in Welland, our Marine unit, our homicide unit, investigative support services, forensics, collision reconstruction unit, our traffic enforcement unit, canine unit, chaplains, auxiliaries. And each unit within itself has a multitude of resources that they can bring. And so, although everybody's not always stationed in Welland, Welland certainly has, or Welland Pelham certainly has the opportunity to have all these resources brought down here whenever anything arises or the need arises. Sorry, excuse my cold. Members of 3 district are also involved in a large number of community-related events, which include, but are not limited to, our Police Week, which is a great success. We have local students attend 3 district for tours and interaction with our officers and all our equipment. We bring everybody down to the Welland station, and we have a local school bring younger grade school children. They get to interact with the police officers, see that we're their friends, see what we do, and it's been extremely well received for the past several years we've been doing it, and I'd like to think that it's a model for Police Week on how we present ourselves. We also assist with the Welland Food Drive, the Salvation Adopt a Family for Christmas, which we just received our family this morning. We know who we're going to be assisting, so the local officers, we support through our own efforts, our own funding, and we adopt a family, make a better Christmas for people within the Welland community. We support a local Christmas toy drive, our Special Olympics events, including our annual law enforcement torch run, as well as other events that officers undertake, such as coaching and mentoring on their own time. Each of these interactions gives the community a better understanding of police outside of an enforcement capacity, and it assists in building a stronger relationship with our community. As previously stated, being the 1 district commander, I've observed firsthand a strong working relationship between the police and our community partners. A very good example of this is the partnership between the Niagara Regional Police Service, the City of Welland Mayor's Office, the St. Lawrence Seaway, and that's in combating off-road motor vehicle complaints. Our 3 agencies have partnered resources to provide education enforcement, and as a direct result have observed a marked decrease in such complaints over the summer of 2017. In the past years, it's been a very prevalent problem, and I very much would like to thank the Mayor's Office and the Seaway for assisting us in combating this problem, and actually we have it very well under control. This also leads into the enforcement efforts that were made possible through shared resources from our Port Colborne and our Grimsby office, where we use their all-terrain vehicles. So just kind of keeps the spending or the costing down, where we do share resources and we don't have to specifically go out and buy them for Welland. We can bring stuff down from other divisions, so to support our local Welland district. Also, as district commander, I provide a conduit for information flow between the officers on patrol and the community to ensure that concerns are brought forward by individual citizens. Citizen committees and all levels of government are identified and appropriate police responses generated. Such concerns can include, but they're not limited to, obviously noise complaints, as previously stated, off-road motor vehicle complaints, requests for targeted traffic enforcement within the city, and in each circumstance, information is provided to patrol officers and a proper response is formulated, which sometimes can include extra patrols, extra enforcement, and we try to report back to whoever's made the actual individual complaint. Also, we're 3 district officers. We're involved in the town and gown again with the city staff. It's a committee that's composed of police, City of Welland staff, the bylaws, fire, city councilors, Niagara College staff, students, region waste management, and community members. They address a number of common concerns in regards to community relations, noise complaints, bylaws, student housing, garbage, and parking. They meet several times a year to address these concerns that are raised and try to come up with a positive solution in each circumstance. It's just another prime example of how the Niagara Regional Police Service is working in concert with all our community partners and having great success. In this morning's paper, there's some of this is what I was talking about. There's a recent audit of noise complaints by members of 3 districts that we've responded to. So from the beginning of this year until beginning of November, we, as the officers, have responded to 493 noise complaints. And they can vary from anything from a barking dog to a loud house party. And I'm by no means, I don't want to be taken out of context because I just talked about the town again. They're not all students. It's not all student housing issues. It's a broad base, and Pelham, Welland, it's everything. So I just want to be clear that I'm not singling out students or the student housing. As previously stated, members of 3 district often direct our resources taking into complaints from local residents and our community partners. We often partake in initiatives aimed at tackling a particular problem. Recent examples of this, sorry, it's cold.
As long as you stay that far away from us, okay? I suggest
I'm on the tail end,
I suggest we remain in the center of the room for the rest of the meeting.
I appreciate it. I'll stay back here. Recent examples of some of our initiatives that aim specifically are rails, trails, and parks. That's initiatives that had officers committed to education enforcement of off-road motor vehicle infractions, trespassing, and any other prohibited activity that took place on city, seaway, railway property. Great success. Like I said, for the first time this year, I've been receiving positive emails from members of the community, particularly around Hunters Point, where in the past it was looking for our assistance. Now it's being thanked for our assistance out there. Targeted highway traffic enforcement, which include seat belts, stop signs, speeding in rural areas and school zones, and distracted driving. Over the past 18 months, we've had a particular initiative in this, and We've issued 655 provincial offense notices, better known as tickets for some, and also issued 100 educational warnings. So when the officers are able to use their discretion in certain circumstances, then there's an educational component. So obviously, one of our mandates as a police service is to decrease fatalities, and particularly in rural areas. So this is an ongoing initiative, but it's something that's reinforced on a regular basis. So, and one of the other initiatives we took up upon this year was e-bikes. As they continue to grow in popularity, and operators are often unaware of the laws pertaining to their safe operation and can often put themselves and others in precarious situations. We've made initiatives to go out and again do some enforcement and education, and as a result of that, we issued 45 provincial offenses over a short period of time. 3 district officers also conduct complaint-based enforcement. These can come from members of the City of Welland, community partners, and individual citizens, and often include speeding, stop signs, noise complaints, dangerous driving, drug trafficking. In each instance, an officer is usually assigned to investigate and provide an appropriate response. A prime example of this was in, I know it was well documented in the local papers. In June of this year, we began receiving numerous complaints of from residents in Palm about a male operating a sport bike dangerously. The complaints concerned reckless operation of the motor vehicle at speeds in residential areas in excess of 140 kilometers per hour while pulling wheelies or performing stunts along the residential streets. Behavior began to escalate and culminated in the male pulling high-speed maneuvers on 3 separate occasions through a Port Colborne school zone, followed by a flight from police where the suspect had taken off. The offender had eluded the police in the past, so a joint investigation commenced involving members from 3 District Welland as well as Port Colborne officers. There's an in-depth investigation, and subsequently plainclothes officers safely arrested the individual on foot as he got off the motorcycle without any danger to the public or any pursuit. The male had been charged. The 25-year-old male has been charged with numerous HTA and criminal offenses. So that was, again, that's just complaints that came to us from the city or from residents of the city, and we just something that we acted upon. We put a project on and came to a successful conclusion. So very happy about that. Members of 3 District are very aware of the ever-growing communities of both Welland and Palm and the extra challenges that come with that growth. These challenges can include increased traffic complaints, an increase in calls for service. In each instance, our members continue to meet these challenges and welcome the positive growth as our communities continue to flourish and prosper. And what I'm talking about there is there's obviously a large amount of commercial and residential construction going on here, and development to obviously to the betterment of both Welland and Pelham, whether it's you're driving down Highway 20, we have the new skateboard park on Lincoln Street. So it's great to see the positive growth, and our members are prepared to meet any challenges that come with that positive growth. So it's a great thing. In closing, I would like to say that I do have full confidence in the members of 3 District to provide professional and ethical policing to the community in which they serve. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. And I'm sure that the chief or acting chief or senior exec will touch on this. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but also it's a proud day for Welland, as we have 4 officers presently receiving a Medal of Bravery from Welland. Sorry, it's my cold again. Officer Bassey, Officer Braun, Officer Ridley, and Officer Rivet, are up in Ottawa this morning receiving the Medal of Bravery for an incident that took place within the 3 District. So again, a very proud day for us. Unfortunate circumstances that led to them receiving that medal, but it's great to see that the recognition and the hard work for the hard work the officers have done. So I thank you for the time, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Inspector, for that, and I'm sure that Acting Chief Forty will expand on the awards, as I could never give it enough justice for the awards they're getting. That's the reason why Chief McCullough is not here, and it's a great reason. Okay. Normally I go to the board first for questions, but because the mayor I know has a meeting to go to, I'm going to ask Mayor Campion or any other there. Do you have any questions?
No.
You don't want to come near the mic because he has a cold, is that it?
Yeah, I'm sitting back here.
That's okay.
No, I just, all of the things that you mentioned, especially the partnerships we have on the Seaway lands and with the student housing issues, I think those are really positive outcomes from getting together and talking about things and then putting ideas on the table, a little bit of cost sharing, you know, for a few bucks from our side, a little bit of money from your side and from our other partners, Seaway, et cetera, you can really make a huge improvement. So without that type of partnership, we wouldn't be able to have the service that we get, and it really does, as Inspector Dowd knows, make a difference. So the complaints drop, the issues drop. So we're very proud of what the police service does for us in the city of Welland. We feel safe, we're confident in our safety, and we're being very, very well served. So that's not a question, it's a comment. It's, if I were you in the charge, you'd say, where's your question, you're out of order. But you're a nice guy, so I appreciate you allowing me to do that. So thank you to Inspector Dowd, and of course, we're very proud of the officers who are in Ottawa as well. Thank you for coming, and thank you for allowing me to say a few words. And I do have to get off to my next meeting. And Acting Chief Forty, apologize, I won't be able to be here for your presentation. But I do also appreciate you allowing Inspector Dowd to speak first. So thank you very much.
And Mayor Campion's always quick to send me an email over the years or turn around to me at Regional Council and just make any comments about what goes on. So I know if you have any issues, you'll bring it to us. I'll be the first one ever in your council chambers to say you're free to go.
Chris, you okay with me?
Thank you for that. Any board members have any questions? Inspector Dowd, get well.
Thank
If
you.
you have to leave, you too can leave, whatever.
Thank you.
makes
Thank
it
you.
for Thank you very much for that. Next, we're going to go to the reports from the chief. I'm sorry, I need a mover and seconder for that. Member Barrett, Vice Chair Ganzel, all those in favor of receiving that, thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to the reports from Acting Chief 40. Now, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to, on behalf of Chief McCulloch, acknowledge His Worship's kind words and his recognition of the tremendous work being done by Inspector Dowd and all the men and women that serve in Welland. I know they're proud to work there. And as Inspector Dowd referenced, there is a commitment to not only enhancing public safety, but engaging the community and trying to mobilize the community to enhance the wellness of all the people that live here and or work or play here. So I will ensure that Inspector McCulloch, upon his return from Ottawa this afternoon, is provided with that very positive feedback from His Worship. In terms of, and the Chief sends his I don't want to say regrets for not being here, because I know he's very proud to be at Redo Hall this morning and into the early afternoon, whereby the Governor General of Canada will be recognizing 4 of our members for the bravery that they demonstrated in October 2015 during what surely would have been a life-changing event for them, as they're engaged with somebody who is trying to, cause death or grievous bodily harm to members of the public and by extension the police in this particular case. So I know that he's very proud to represent our executive team and all the men and women of the service and the citizens of Niagara as Sergeant Bassey, Constable Braun, Constable Ridley, and Constable Rivet received this significant recognition from the Governor General. So I will ensure that he's provided those comments from His Worship. Having said that, I'll provide a high-level overview of some of the significant events that have taken place during the last month in and across the Niagara region. I'll start with a homicide that took place in November. A 45-year-old male from Hamilton by the name of Jonathan Bailey was found deceased on November 8th. The investigation is still in its early stages, and we're in the throes of trying to gather support from the community in terms of trying to advance that investigation, and it is ongoing. No charges have been laid at this time. I would also like to touch on 3 significant drug investigations that came to a conclusion. Well, I guess charges have been laid. We're now in the disclosure process and the court process. So in terms of the process in its entirety and working its way through the judiciary, that is ongoing. But our involvement in terms of gathering evidence to advance prosecution has come to a conclusion. The first case I would like to reference is an investigation that started in August of 2017, where members of the newly created opioid unit that was created to try to help our service and our citizens deal with the emerging crisis related to fentanyl and other opioids, partnered with our Guns, Gangs, and Grows unit in the investigation of a Pelham man that was involved in trafficking of fentanyl. That investigation came to a conclusion in October, and police obtained and executed search warrants to enter the residence and the business of a person who's since been charged. A 27-year-old man is facing a number of charges. Police, during the course of executing those search warrants, seized cocaine and fentanyl, as well as a significant amount of cash. The second file I would like to reference is also an investigation that originated in Welland. On October 27th, our service, the 3-district street crime unit, initiated and concluded a drug investigation, which also resulted in charges against a resident of Welland. During the execution of that search warrant, a significant quantity of drugs was seized, and also a significant amount of cash was also seized during the course of that investigation. 2 men, aged 50 and 37, have subsequently been charged with a number of offenses, and this particular investigation is the second time that these subjects have been targeted and arrested and charges advanced in terms of their criminal engagement and lifestyle. The third file I would like to touch on is in July of 2017, members of the St. Catharines Street Crime Unit initiated an investigation into the trafficking of cocaine, a derivative of cocaine, crack cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl. During the early morning hours of Thursday, November 2nd, 2017, members of the St. Catharines, Welland, and Niagara Falls Street Crime Units, as well as our intelligence unit, our district office, morality unit, Guns, Gangs, and Grows, our opioid enforcement unit, our emergency tactical unit, a significant number of our specialized units across the service were engaged in coordinating a number of search warrants of private residences and vehicles and the continuance of the investigation. The investigative teams arrested and charged 9 persons with a variety of drug-related offenses. 2 individuals are still outstanding and are subject of search warrants, and they're wanted by police services across the province. During the search warrants, cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl was seized, in addition to a significant quantity of money, which of course are believed to be the proceeds of that criminal activity and that criminal behavior. I think the last thing I would comment on is that we are now sitting at 15 fatal motor vehicle crashes for 2015, and we had 1 in November.
Thank you, Acting Chief. Any questions from the board? I see none. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have the consent agenda items, and I can slow down my speech now. I was going fast earlier because I didn't want Frank Campion to leave early without asking questions if he wanted to. So I'd like to move them in block from 222 to 225 if I can. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Member Stewart, Member Bonham. Comments or questions on the consent agenda items, please? I have a couple. Does anybody else have any questions on it? Okay, the first one, number 222, the monthly report on special fund administration, from a high level, I say acting chief, deputy, Bordy, or whoever you instruct, can you please explain, because we're in Welland, this is going to be on the internet down the way, the informants funds and that on this piece, just from a high level, if you don't mind?
Yes, I'd be happy to, Mr. Chair. The monies identified in this report are allotted to persons that are what we call confidential human sources or informants. And when somebody decides to come forward and provide information and asks to remain anonymous, the Supreme Court of Canada has provided very clear expectations through Regina versus Barrows, Regina versus Garofoli, recently Regina versus Bassey, and a case emerging out of British Columbia, Regina versus Bacon, that speak to the privilege and the fact that the police cannot waive that privilege. So that's a high level. And at the local level, the Niagara Regional Police Service has a practice whereby an informant is registered. A significant body of work goes into confirming that that person is not on parole, they're not on probation, they're not subject to any court-imposed conditions, and then they're what we call registered as an informant. And that confidential human source then provides information on criminal activity in Welland, as an example, or across the region, or perhaps more broadly across the province or country. And sometimes, or oftentimes, those persons are doing that to receive financial remuneration or compensation. And the test for how much that person is compensated includes, but is not limited to, the severity of the crime, the risk that that person faced with providing that information. By that I mean the personal risk to their safety. Oftentimes, information is limited to a very small group of people, so we must be very cautious in terms of how we advance our investigations to ensure that we do not compromise the safety of that individual. And then once that information has been acted upon and charges go forward, there's a process whereby internally we ensure that that informant is still not in contravention of any court-imposed conditions like parole, probation, or any other conditions that might be outside that. Then we balance the things that I previously referenced in terms of risk, the investigation, the fruits of the investigation. And then two people meet with the informant to ensure that we are doing our due diligence around being accountable with the administration of these public funds or monies. And then the handlers is the term that we use for the people, the police officers that are dealing with the informant, are compensated. The check is signed by myself and the director after approval by Deputy Flynn. For the most part, I think it's safe to say that all the handlers within the service report to and under Deputy Flynn, and there is a significant audit process that we have in place, because the handling of confidential human sources is probably the most high-risk area of law enforcement in terms of how it could potentially compromise a criminal investigation and or the safety of an informant, or the civil liability for a police service should either of the previously two be compromised.
So that was perfect, thank you. I wanted the people to know the criteria, the reasons, and the checks and balances we had on that. So on that item, does anybody have any further questions? Okay, thank you for that. I have another one on item number 225, which is the solicitation acceptance of public donations, sponsorships, or private sector funding agreements. I recognize the point, Acting Chief, that we never want to compromise our integrity, objectivity, or impartiality of the service. But I'll give you an example. If a Chamber of Commerce came and said, we want to sponsor something or help us out, or I'm just using an example, would we consider it, or is it a definite no? Is there some, I see there's no one that we take any money from, but if it's a bona fide operation, is the answer just no, or is there a chance that we could operate like a business in some way? And I don't want to be critical by saying that, but would we take money from somebody that we know wouldn't compromise us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just speaking with the director, and the past practice for the service is that the service does not take the monies directly from the agency that is coming forward. And quick case of point, the Special Olympics is an example whereby it's being donated, but it goes direct to the organization in question. I think as a service, as you referenced, we need to be mindful of being impartial, and you know, the optics of us becoming on retainer, if I can frame it up as such, are dangerous. And I think you know, on a case-by-case basis, we would look at these events coming in, but I am aware of other police services having accepted donations for a specific item or a contribution towards, as an example, a child advocacy center. So there are cases whereby monies do come forward, but I think we always need to be very, very careful and examine the optics of our taking that money.
Okay, and I just use an example, like if I had a loved one that was drowned in a river, I'd be the first one to buy a boat for the police to make sure it doesn't happen again. But I'd hate that. I didn't think I would be compromising, but I just want to make sure that we would look at these things, and that's.
Yeah, one of the best, like the example that I would take to build upon your example is a missing person investigation, whereby a loved one's parents want to offer a reward, right? So we would weigh that, the potential impact on a prosecution, the impact on an investigation, and you know, there are times whereby we would say, yes, we will do that, but it's got to be very, very controlled.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions on that one? Okay, there's no other questions on the consent agenda. We have a mover and seconder already. All those in favor of accepting these? Thank you. New business, item number 226, the NRPS financial variance overview and year-end forecast. Can I have a mover and seconder on this? Member Barrett, Member Bottom. Comments or questions on this one? Member Stewart.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, just noticing as we're approaching the end of the year that fuel costs are over the budget by somewhere almost 9%. I'm just curious, of going forward to 2018, have we made adjustments to fuel prices or whatever so that that budget could be more back in line in 2018?
So in 2018, if you look at the budget, there's actually a very slight, it's actually almost exactly the same. There wasn't a variance because our kilometers have come down. So we lowered our kilometers, which we're seeing a decrease in kilometer usage, but we've increased the cost of fuel, like the price, but we've lowered the kilometers. So it's actually flat, but we have taken into consideration the price change.
Any other questions or comments? So this will come up, provided we pass it now in corporate services under Chair Barrick in a week or two, I guess it is. So all those in favor of this? Carried. Item number 227, the NRPS 2018 proposed capital budget and 9-year forecast. A mover and seconder on this one, please. Member Bonham, Member Ganzel. Comments or questions on this item? I see none. Oh, Member Gansell, go ahead.
For you, Chair, just a question as I go through the capital forecast over the period that's in here. And it deals with IT costs. Let's find my marker here. So this is the 2018, 2027. In 2025, we're looking at a forecast change of $27 million, sorry, it's probably not IT related, a $27 million forecast in that year alone. I know this is capital. So it jumps every year, we're around 3 million, 2 million, 2.8, 27 million, and then it goes back to 3 million. What's taking place in 2025?
So if you look first at 2023, we've put into place some forecasts for the next phases of the facilities. So the training unit, emergency services. So we have two placeholders, one in 2023 and one in 2025 for potential the next phases of our buildings. This is put in place in order to help the region prepare their capital debt forecast, their debenture forecast. So we need to put those in place so that they have it in their budget. We make adjustments as we go along. It may be moved out to future years, but they need the information to prepare for their budgets as well and to prepare their forecast.
Okay, thank you. That explains it.
Any other comments or questions on this item? All those in favor? Carried. Item number 228, the NRPS Inspector Special Duty Rates Bylaw Amendments. A mover and seconder, please. Member Bonham, a seconder, please. Member Stewart, comments on this item? All those in favor? Carried. Item number 229, the Ontario Police Video Training Alliance Business Plan. Mover and seconder on this item. Member Bonham, Member Gansell, comments or questions on this one? Okay, I have a couple. Chief or acting chief, pardon me if I get the titles wrong. It's easier for me to just say deputy, but I don't want to. It says Ontario Power Generation cutout on this. Is there a reason behind that? Or what was their choice on moving out on that? That cost us about 10,000 funding, I believe it was. Can someone respond to that? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I can get an answer at another date if you wish. Is that 229? The Ontario Police Video Training Alliance.
I'm just wondering, Mr. Chair, if you could direct me to the narrative that you're
I may have
referencing.
written down the wrong item. I'm sorry, on one of these items it said the Ontario Power Generation cut out, and I can't find it now, so. Does that ring a bell? I probably wrote down the wrong number. I can move on and,
No, you were right.
it's on that one?
Page 5, number 9
Okay.
of that report.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay, thanks. So my question is why, or do you know why is it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through the acting chief. We're fortunate to have with us Mr. Jamie Saunders, who's a member of our he's a senior civilian member of our service. And he's the manager of our video unit. and is really the key behind the Ontario Video Training Alliance. So if I may, I would like to call Mr. Saunders forward. Jamie?
I have another question for you while you're sitting there, so that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and members of the board, answered your question. When we prepare the business plan each year, we do so based on a reasonable assumption that previous year member agencies, which now total 94, will be returning in force at 100% renewal rate the following year. After the budget was submitted for 2019 budget, Ontario Power Generation notified us that they wish to withdraw from the OPVTA. This happens on occasion. Typically, almost always, it's due to budgetary constraints. That was the reason that they provided. So from year to year, we occasionally have members come in, drop out. Typically, our core members, our municipal police agencies, are almost always 100% renewal. It's those quasi-police member agencies such as campus police, Ontario Power Generation, military police. Those agencies tend to come and go. In this case, based on the strength of the Ontario Power Generation, it was more than a usual hit on our budget. I think it was in the amount of $8,400. Typically when members come and go, they're very small agencies. The impact on our budget is relatively minor, usually in the neighborhood of $600 or $700. In this case, given the size of the agency, it was a little more substantial and I thought worth mentioning in the budget.
Thank you. I just want to make sure it wasn't us, and I understand budgets totally. So going further with this, after reading this report, and I'm going to choose my words wisely, I hope, on this. I'm proud of this service, but I'm really proud of the K9 unit, the Marine unit, the video unit, certain things that really stand out because of my tours through these and showing how we train other forces and places like this. So I'm going to ask through the acting chief, and you answer or whoever, have we ever thought of using it as a business, sending somebody out there to other forces, and maybe we do that, selling our services, trying to get make money on this, for lack of better words. Because we do such a good job. Is it known around Canada, Ontario, US, whatever? I know it's the K9 is, because I see cruisers driving around the Niagara area from different forces throughout New York State or Pennsylvania or whatever. So do we have a business person that goes around and sells these things that we do so we can recoup some of our costs or whatever? Whoever you choose to answer,
It'd be my pleasure to answer, just because I believe Mr. Saunders is a bit modest. Realistically, our video unit has been recognized internationally for years and years, as I'm sure you're very well aware. And OPVTA, this is where I'll ask Jamie to correct me, grew from that, as opposed to services across Ontario, all in a similar position, trying to find efficiencies through training. Video-based training was becoming very desirable because of its relative ease with distribution. In the days long before e-learning was even a concept, our video unit was recognized for their strengths and their talents. There were joint initiatives or the missions or issues that faced the Niagara Regional Police Service were very common throughout Ontario and faced by other services. So as opposed to duplicating services, over time, the Ontario Police Video Training Alliance was built. And what that did, and largely through Jamie's efforts and some of his peers that worked with him at that particular time, through that effort, we're at a point now today where, although the service, we underwrite the Ontario Police Video Training Alliance, the OPVTA has a distinct board, and it represents large, medium, and small services across Ontario. Jamie acts as an executive director to that and a non-voting member. It's a great collective, and through that collective, they identify joint training concerns and then go about building projects to meet that are distributed to the partner agencies. As far as the salesman goes, I think that the success of this program is directly attributable to the efforts of Mr. Saunders. And through the OPVTA, in fact, we are able to share this information, but also generate significant revenue to offset costs that we would otherwise impose. So approximately half of the unit's budget is recovered through our efforts through the OPVTA, which assists our service and our members, of course, but also those across Ontario. And now, as you've heard, it's not only police member agencies, but there are some quasi-police agencies or enforcement agencies right across Canada that participate in this program. And the contract that's before you is meant to provide a sliding scale or a fee schedule that meets the needs of each service and certainly compensates our service for the work that they do, if that answers your question. But the most important part of that response was the credit and the regard that we all hold for Jamie and his staff for the excellent work that they do and their effort to raise the bar with police training across Ontario. And that has now expanded since 2011 into e-learning, and I can provide more on that if you wish, but they've done a tremendous job. They continue to do a tremendous job, and they do nothing but push the bar even higher year by year.
So Superintendent Bench, I understand that somewhat you're preaching to the choir here. I want to make sure there's a force in San Antonio, Texas, or something somewhere that might not know of our services. Should we be looking at marketing our services to recoup costs, to show what we can do around? Are we doing that? I don't need an answer right now because I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm not just talking video, I'm talking anything we do that's great, which is pretty well everything we do, I think. I'm saying it because I'm the chair of the board, but regardless, is it something we should be considering, or have we considered that? Having a salesman or saleswoman on the road, and I know that we're in the 2000s now, or 2017s, you don't do it on the road anymore, but I want to make sure we're out there.
Mr. Chair, with respect to the video, I could go on at length. I'll turn to Mr. Saunders to speak to this particular element because it is in fact marketed, and then I believe turn to Deputy Flynn for a response on the latter part of your question.
Okay, and I don't need an answer of how great you are. I know you're great. Are we marketing in that? So, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the short answer is yes. We have a 7-member executive. One of their core duties is to spread the gospel, so to speak, to agencies who are not yet members. We have pretty much a 100% saturation in Ontario, recognizing that we had potential for membership outside of Ontario, despite the name Ontario Police Video Training Alliance. We currently have 17 member agencies outside the province of Ontario. There are still a number of agencies that we would like to get on board from other provinces. To that end, 3 years ago, we expanded our executive by 1 to include a national director. It's currently Wayne Jacobson from Assiniboine College in Manitoba. They work closely with Brandon Police, who is also a member. RCMP Depot is a member. Justice Institute of BC is a member. So that said, there are still a number of agencies, particularly large agencies, when you look at the larger agencies such as Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, who are not yet members. But one of the specific goals of that national director is to get the word out about the OPVTA. We like to have our national director located in the Western provinces because we already have a significant number of member agencies, excuse me, must be catching, in the Eastern provinces. So we do a fair bit of outreach. We have a vibrant website that has a lot of information about the OPVTA. We get out to conferences, to the Canadian Association of Police Educators, Ontario Association of Police Educators, CACP. We've been out to OAPSB previously when we didn't yet have full Ontario market saturation. But I'd like to just close by reinforcing one of the strong philosophies that has served us well over the 20 years that we've been in existence is that commitment to our members that we continue to operate on a not-for-profit basis. And the board has a similar but equal interest in ensuring that all of our costs are recovered. So I respect that the more money coming in, the better, but we need to continue to operate on a not-for-profit basis. That said, if more money does come in and we do happen to get a couple of large services in, that would allow us to expand our services.
I guess that's my retail background coming in a little bit there. And I guess if we all have colds in a few days, we know who to blame. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Inspector, Vice Chair Gansel?
Thank you, and through you and to the chief, to Mr. Saunders. In the list of agencies, I see that the Canadian Railway Police at 109 and CN Police at 30. I'm not going to cast aspersions on CN, but that seems like a rather low number for a police service equal in size to what I would think CP is.
That number, through you, Mr. Chair, that number may well be a bit out of date. To us, as long as that number is less than 50, our membership fees are set up in such a way that they go by increments of 50. That number may or may not be accurate, but it is reflective of the number provided by CN or any of our member agencies for that matter to us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of approving this? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Item number 230, the OPVTA Collaborative Project, Sexual Violence and Harassment Training. Mover and seconder on this one, please. Member Stewart, Member Bonham. Comments or questions on this item? Member Gansel.
I think because of a lot of things that are in the news, I think more specifically south of the border here, I think it would be, from an interest perspective, when this is completed, if the board could get a copy of the final product, just so we can see what is actually being presented, only because it seems to be a topical issue in the press at the present time. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Gansel. Absolutely, there'd be no issues with the board seeing that. The benefit with this particular package is that it's also a topic that is being addressed through the OPVTA. That's why the report's being presented in this way. And as not only just a contributing member, but we have a strong desire to take great benefit in the products that we manufacture ourselves. We'll make sure that that's out with our service as well, including the board.
Okay, all those in favor of approving this item? Carried. Item number 231, a special fund request, Building a Disaster Resilient Niagara. Mover and seconder, please. Member Stewart, Member Bonham. Comments or questions on this item? Okay, the approval is for $500. All those in favor? Carried. The last item, item number 232, a special fund request for the United Way campaign, the NRPS in-house United Way campaign. A mover and seconder for this item. Member Bonham, Member Stewart. Any comments on this item? All those in favor of that donation? Carried. Unless there's any new business, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have it? Thank you. Okay, so item number 233, the minutes of the licensing public meeting held Thursday, November 9th. Mover and seconder for that one, please. Member Bonham, Member Gansel. Any comments or questions on that? All those in favor? Carried. Number 234, reappointment to the Police Services Board, Order and Council for Member Stewart. Mover and seconder for that one. Member Bonham, Member Barrick. Any comments or questions on that? Congratulations, Vaughn. All those in favor? Carried. Item number 235, the PSB bylaw, NRPS user fees and charges. A mover and seconder for that. Member Bonham, are you moving it? Okay, a seconder. Member Stewart, comments on this one? No comments, Terry? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Item number 236, the Safer Ontario Act, Bill 175. Mover and seconder for that one. Sorry, Member Stewart. Member Gansel, comments on this item? All those in favor on that one? Carried. Deb, we done? That's it. Unless there's no new business, we're done with the public portion of this. Okay, thank you. We'll go into confidential after this. Thank you.